Welcome back to the All Ball Podcast, where it's all ball all the time. You are here with your host Isaiah and Sean. This is episode number 8. Isaiah, how you feeling today, man?
I'm feeling good, and we have a request from the comments for one of our topics today. So I'm excited to get into that.
Yeah, big shout out to Rachel. Thank you for the comment, leaving that down below. We appreciate your support and all the likes and comments and all of that good stuff. So thank you. Uh, you want to go ahead and start with yours?
Okay, yeah, I'll start. Or we can go back and forth. I'll do one, then you do one.
Okay.
So my first one, and I'm gonna go in chronological order here, going backwards.
Okay.
So first, I want to start with obviously the most recent, like I said.
Mhm.
As a Giannis fan, this 2021 finals run that he had, especially the closeout game, game 6, he goes for 50 points. He hits almost all of his free throws. It
Mhm.
was a very exciting night for me. I was audibly screaming, jumping out of the bed and everything. I was excited. That was a great game, and it was an all-time great performance from Giannis. And it's hard to describe how it feels watching something like that in the moment.
Yeah, I remember how excited you were after I texted you when the game was over. I could tell it was a pretty great night for you.
Oh yes, especially because it was finally his time to silence all the haters. Obviously there's some people who, you can't convince, but for the most part I have seen practically no Giannis hate since that finals run. And you love to see things like that because there was no legitimate reason to disrespect him as badly as people were.
hmm And
So yeah.
honestly, I could probably see it happening again this year. So you might have back-to-back years of good basketball moments.
Oh man, if he goes back to back, I don't know what I'm gonna do, man. I'm gonna lose my mind.
Um, all right, so I guess I'll go ahead and give mine. I'll
Hmm.
go ahead and try to go in chronological order. My best basketball moments are all Rockets related.
Hmm.
Um, so the first one is going to be, I believe it was in 2015 in the Western semifinals when the Rockets were playing the Clippers and they came back in game 4, I think, or game 5 with I believe they were down around 20 points and they came back James Hardenless, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
This is when Kevin
Oh
McHale decided
yeah,
to sit James Harden and then Josh Smith went
yeah.
off.
Josh Smith went off.
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably one of my like greatest basketball moments ever. I was so surprised at what they were doing without James Harden. It made me question if we needed him. But then I was like, yes we do. Um, yeah, I don't know if you remember that day too.
Oh yeah, no, I specifically remember. That's why I started laughing when you were like when Corey Brewer. I mean, not Corey. When Josh Smith went off, because I remember
Yeah,
Josh Smith going off. It's like you haven't played this well in years. What is
yeah,
this?
I know. Well, Corey Brewer was there too. Corey Brewer was on the
Yeah.
court. It was Corey Brewer, Josh Smith, Jason Terry, um, Terrence Jones, and then Dwight Howard. I can't believe I can remember the whole lineup that was on the floor
Oh
at the time.
man. You see, I can remember Dwight Howard too, just because if I remember correctly, that was also around the same time when Chris Paul was jumping on his back for the
I think
rebound.
even I don't know if you remember this name either, but Pablo Prigioni.
Oh man, see, bro, he is somebody that I remember mainly because of 2K,
Uh-huh.
and it was funny because there would always just be moments where he would just do something. I'd be like, Pablo Prigion, what? What?
Yeah, yeah, that's how I felt in the game. How is he even doing that? This man's like already 37 years old or something like that.
Exactly.
But all right, you want to give your next one?
Okay, my next one, again, working backwards here,
Mm,
was Derrick Rose dropping 50 as a Timberwolf, just because D Rose and Kobe are the two main people who sort of started to get me into basketball
yeah.
more intensely.
Hmm.
And so seeing him sort of have a resurgence with the Timberwolves, really fight for his spot back in the league to where now, he's a consistent player. He's not fighting to get a contract anymore.
Right.
And then the fact that he did it, hitting threes too, he was driving to the rack, kind of looking like his old self. And if I remember correctly, that was against the Jazz as well. So to do that with, because again, like I said, he was driving to the rack. So to do that against the defensive player of the year, oh
Hmm.
man, yeah, it was just legendary to see that.
Yeah, I was really happy for him, and I'm still really happy for him that he found a consistent role. Maybe coming off the bench as a sixth man, but I mean, the way his career was looking after, the couple of years of his injury, I mean, I don't know what else you could really ask for because his career was looking like he might not even be in the league much longer.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'm really happy for Derrick Rose after that 50 point performance, and then that he found a role in the league.
Hmm.
Um, okay, I guess I'll go ahead and give mine now. Uh, so this one was, I believe, a regular season game versus the Warriors.
Hmm.
I believe the Rockets were down one
Oh
versus,
yeah, versus the Warriors, yeah, and it was
yeah,
like end of the game. If I
yeah,
remember correctly, James Harden, he hits that.
yeah, he hits the
Yeah.
three, and I don't remember who was commentating, but he called him a flamethrower or something like that. Yeah, so I remember the shot was over, I believe Clay,
And
Draymond,
Draymond.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was such an awkward looking three too.
Yeah. Like I didn't think it was going in, but I thought he was just gonna get the foul call because they did foul him.
Yeah, yeah, that was a really like great moment for me. I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting on the edge of my bed right here. I was like recording it too because I didn't want to like lose if he did hit it.
Yeah.
And as soon as he hit the shot, I let go of the record button and I started
Oh
jumping up and down.
man. You see,
Uh,
yeah, I remember because I was laying down watching it.
mhm.
And then as that happened, I kind of just like dropped my phone and grabbed my head like in shock. Like, no way he actually hit that shot.
Yeah.
There's no way he just hit that shot
Mhm.
over the two best people to possibly defend that shot.
Mhm.
He hit it and he got fouled. But they didn't call, but still, like, he got fouled on the shot, but still hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I I don't even think that was the play that was drawn up because it kind of looked like Harden like fumbled the ball and that's not where he really wanted to catch the ball because he had to kind of dribble around I think Curry to get to
Hmm.
his spot. But I mean, still the fact that he hit that shot versus the Warriors, it was still pretty great. Still one of my favorite basketball moments of all time. But okay, you can go ahead and give your next one.
Okay, my next one was the 2017 finals.
Hmm.
And that's because, at the time, I was also a big KD fan. Now, obviously, that has died down due to, the way he's sort of done some questionable things, not even the burner account thing, but just certain stuff after. Like, he's just kind of doing too much. But yeah, at the time, I was a big KD fan as well.
Hmm.
And so seeing him go out there, play like he was the best player on the whole court, especially that shot that he hits over LeBron. Yeah, it was exciting to see. And then also, even though he was on one of our sworn enemy teams,
Yeah,
I can't dislike Curry either, so just seeing the two of them just go crazy like that was really exciting for me. And I also remember I was watching it on a cruise,
yeah,
so that was fun as well. Yeah, it was
yeah,
just all around exciting.
yeah. KD and Curry became a lot more fun to watch when they weren't torching my team every year in the playoffs. So for most of like 2000, I guess you could say they're mid 2010s to like 2008, 19 or whatever.
Mhm.
I kind of disliked Curry because of what he would do. I just like the whole Warriors team. I mean, obviously they were rivals, but like you know, I was like fully against Curry, Thompson, and especially Draymond.
Yeah, Draymond, that's understandable, huh?
Yeah, but I mean now, I they're cool. I have nothing against them, but those couple years they gave me nightmares. I couldn't sleep because I would hear Curry for three, bang, So and yeah, it ruined my playoff experience every year.
You see, I think it's because like I said in a previous episode, kind of in passing, I didn't really believe in James Harden as our ticket to a championship anyway.
Hmm.
So I was every time we lost to the Warriors, I was like, okay, I just more reason not to trust James Harden.
I mean, I feel like we could have got it done. Like I said, I feel like I said this before, but Chris Paul doesn't get hurt. I feel like
Mhm.
we win that series.
You see,
Which,
but that's the thing. The problem with that is Chris Paul gets hurt in almost every playoff run. So you were expecting a lot for hoping him to not get injured. But then the problem is he gets hurt and they fumble two more games.
hmm.
Like how do you fumble two games? You only needed to win one. Oh
Hey man, I
man.
was slightly delusional back then that we could really pull it off. I mean, we were close. We were within one game, so I mean, but still, we should have won. Should have beat the Cavs in the finals that year, and
Yeah, hey, what can you do?
yeah, the pain's coming back.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna move on to my next moment.
Okay.
Yeah. My next one was the 2016 game where Steph sort of just cemented himself as the best shooter ever.
Hmm.
Where it was overtime or double overtime, and he was bringing the ball up court. As soon as he passes half court, and he just pulls it on the Thunder and hits the three from like 40 feet to win the game.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember which one you're talking about. I did not get to see that game live, but I remember seeing the highlights of it. And I was like, wow,
You see,
it's pretty crazy.
I was watching that game actually go down because, between me being a KD fan and me being a Curry fan too,
Hmm.
I was like, I really just want to see this game because I know it's going to be good. But wow, good was an understatement. And then
um,
also, shout out to Westbrook for being a choke artist and letting that moment happen because what he did on the play before was kind of sad.
being a choke artist through all his years of his career, including Houston.
Yep, that's Westbrook for you.
Um, okay, so this is my third and final one. I only
Hmm.
wrote three.
Okay, I have one more after this.
Okay, so in the Western Conference Finals of 2018,
Hmm.
James Harden postered Draymond Green,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and I thought at that moment we're winning it all. There was no more doubt in my mind. We're winning it all. I was like, that was all the momentum just going to us right there. That's it. That's all we needed. And I was wrong, but it was still a great moment.
Yeah, you clearly had a lot more faith in Harden than I did.
Well, I mean, I thought it was more just like the team getting momentum. You know, everyone was like hyped after that, and I believe we were playing in Houston at the time too. Wait, no. I think no, no. Um, I think that was in Golden State, but still, I think you know the momentum that the team got from that was enough to like will us over to win the series. But like I said, that's very wrong. Like,
Yeah, good old Rockets things.
yeah,
You think things are gonna go our way, and then they don't. Yeah,
yeah, it's every
seems to
year.
be a consistent theme. at least,
Yeah,
at least until this season. Yay! Good draft. Good
yeah.
draft.
Finally, it feels like we haven't had draft picks in
Oh, we
forever.
haven't had draft picks in forever, and we definitely haven't even had a first round one. I don't think in forever. Yeah, the
Me
last
either.
person I remember us drafting is Joe Chi,
Oh my god,
who came into the league and did absolutely nothing.
what year was that? That was like 2017, right?
I think so. I don't even remember. I just remembered us drafting him, and then he wasn't there for us at first, and then he came over the next season, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was something like that where he's a draft and stash.
Who's
Yeah,
the last player that I can remember getting drafted? I mean, I remember Capella getting drafted.
yeah, but that was like 2015.
Yeah, it was like 2015, 2014. Who's the other guy that got drafted? In 2015, drafted I think a guy out of Wisconsin. I can't remember his name, but he played for us for a little while, and he was all right, and we let him go.
Are you talking about Sam Decker?
Yeah, Sam Decker. There we
Oh
go.
man, one of the worst low lights of all time, where he slips and the ball hits for the face.
All right, maybe next episode we could do like worst slash funniest moments
Oh,
of
okay.
basketball
Oh,
history.
funniest moment. So yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah.
Oh
Um.
man, but I'm gonna just go ahead and wrap up this best moments one, my last one.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and my last one is, this was the first finals that I like fully watched
Mhm.
with my own two eyes, watched it live, and
Mhm.
watched every game happen too. And that was the 2011 finals where the Mavericks won.
Mhm.
And, just seeing Dirk just go crazy like that in the finals, especially because I personally have never been one to like LeBron.
Mhm.
So seeing LeBron lose too was also very fun for 11-year-old Isaiah. Or no, I would have been 10 at the time, but still, little elementary school Isaiah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just a fun one. And then I was actually in Dallas in the time that it happened too.
That was uh that was a little bit before my basketball watching time. Um.
Hmm.
I know that you were really like the main person that got me into basketball, but that was like obviously in middle school.
Yeah. I mean, even then, I wasn't like super crazy into basketball at the time, like I've said a few times. It's just, I was in Dallas and my brother was a basketball fan. My sister was a semi basketball fan. So we just all watched the finals.
Yeah. No, I mean I can't really say anything about it, but I do know that Dirk kind of carried that team.
I wouldn't necessarily say he carried the team. I'd just say he was the obvious driving force on the team.
Hmm.
Where it's like, okay, this team doesn't get here without him, obviously,
Right.
but it wasn't just him.
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of just basing off of everything I've read or
Yeah,
heard about that
yeah. I mean,
series.
everybody says that, but yeah, that's not really how it was.
Okay. Do you have any more moments you want to talk about?
No, that's it for me.
All right, you want to go ahead and move on to our top 15 list?
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to do our top 15 of all time list. Obviously, this is very subjective and opinionated, so don't come at our necks if your list is a lot different than ours. But Isaiah, you want to go ahead and get yours started?
Okay, so I'm assuming we're gonna do this the same way we did our top 25.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna start with my number 15,
Hmm.
and that is Dwayne Wade.
Okay. Let me write yours down too, so I can do the same thing as last time.
Okay.
Okay.
And while you're writing it, I'll go ahead and explain a little
All right.
bit. Three-time champion. He also has one of the most legendary finals runs with his 2006 championship. And then on top of it, it just so happened to be against Dirk at that, so that's kind of funny. but carried his team to a 4-0, not 4-0 like win, but like four straight wins. And it was just, even though I didn't watch it happen, obviously, having seen like highlights of it and such, it was amazing to see. And
Yeah.
that's like, even though he won his other two rings with LeBron, he obviously wasn't the best player on the team anymore.
Hmm.
Having that one is what cements him at the 15 spot for me, because it kind of proved that, oh, he didn't necessarily need anybody to win. He could get it on his own if he wanted to, even though he had Shaq, but Shaq was old.
Right. Um, for me, I always thought D-Wade was underrated, but he also does miss out on my top 15.
Mm,
Uh, right now for number 15, I have Kawhi.
okay.
I think that his rings that he has are very legitimate compared to like other stars in the league like KD and stuff like that. I'm not
Hmm.
saying that his aren't obviously aren't legitimate, but
Yeah, I know
he
what you mean.
didn't always have a super team with him.
Hmm.
Um, I've always thought that Kawhi's defense was one that was able to transfer over to the whole team.
Hmm.
That Kawhi effect. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but I think I
Yeah,
think
it's
that
kind of like the Marcus Smart type of thing too, where there are
yeah,
just some defenders where their defensive impact is so great you can see it sort of affect the team on the
right,
defensive end.
right. Yeah, so that's where I have Kawhi at 15. Or that's what I have for my 15th spot is
Mhm.
Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, he's definitely in my 16 to 20 range for sure.
Hmm.
But for my number 14, I have an underrated legend, Moses Malone.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't know about Moses Malone, and it's kind of unfortunate because he's a three-time MVP.
Hmm.
And so I feel like that alone should give him much more attention than it does. But for some reason, people just sleep and they seem to forget that that's a fact. And then on top of that, he's a champion as well, and he won the Finals MVP when he won his championship. So I'll give
Oh,
him his credit.
I think the reason why he's kind of slept on is because there's another man that shares his name
Yeah.
that's a little more popular than him, but you know, not gonna talk about him.
Yeah, we're not. We're just gonna move on to your 14.
Yeah. So number my 14, I have Larry Bird.
Oh
Probably one
wow,
of
that is pretty low for Bird.
yeah, I don't know. I felt like all the other guys just kind of deserved it a little more,
Hmm.
but I think that his 3-point shooting in an era that obviously wasn't still known for 3-point shooting was one of some of the best out there.
Hmm.
The championships that he got. Um, I don't have too much to say about him. I feel like these players kind of speak for themselves, so just the name themselves. But I mean, yeah, that's where I have Larry Bird, or that's what I have for number 14 is Larry Bird.
Hmm. Okay, in my 13, this is where I'm gonna get controversial. I have Bill Russell at 13.
Okay.
And the 11 championships, that's kind of like, the big calling card of Bill Russell. That's the Bill Russell thing.
Mhm.
And while he's in this top 15 because of that, I personally don't put him in the top 10 because, like I explained in my hot take a few episodes back, I kind of have to devalue those rings compared to other people
Mm.
just because it was a smaller league. So if you had a dominant team, it was easier to be dominant because everything's more concentrated with less players. And it wasn't just Bill Russell either. Like he had a legitimately great team.
Mm.
Yeah, and then also his personal skills on the court weren't all that insane outside of his rebounding and his defense.
Right.
And so just because of that, that's also some points that I take off to you.
Okay. I don't have him much higher either, but
Hmm.
for my number 13, I have Dirk.
Okay.
I think one of the best like stretch bigs ever. You know,
Hmm.
uh, obviously didn't win many championships, only won one. It was one, right?
Yeah, it was one. Just
Okay,
that 2011 one.
right. But what he did for Dallas all those years, kept them competitive for the most time that he was there, and was very dominant, and
Hmm.
was known for kind of making that fade away as a big man kind of famous.
Hmm.
I think that's he deserves the number, what is that, 13 spot?
Yeah,
Yeah.
13. You see, that's interesting because personally, I have Dirk as the third best power forward of all time
Hmm.
because I believe that Giannis has already surpassed him just based on the accolades alone.
Hmm.
But no, that's interesting. That's interesting. Number 12 for me is where I have Kevin Durant.
Okay.
Now, we all know who KD is, one of the freakiest players out there. 6 foot, moves like a guard, shoots like a guard. I mean, not 6, 7 foot,
Mm.
moves like a guard, shoots like a guard. He can be a rim protector when he wants to, or especially more so before the Achilles injury.
Hmm.
He's a 50, 40, 90 guy. He's a 4-time scoring champ. He's a 2-time champ, 2-time finals MVP. The accolades, they just speak for themselves. We all know who Kevin Durant is.
Right. Um, for me, the next one I have is Wilt Chamberlain.
Hmm.
I feel like he's also in that same kind of like boat as, how do I put it, Bill Russell,
Hmm.
but at the same time, he did win some MVPs.
Hmm.
I think he was 10 plus time All Star, I think. Uh, how many? He won two championships,
Yeah,
right?
two.
Two. Um, so I feel like I said, he's in the same boat as Bill Russell. Um,
Hmm.
obviously didn't play in the era of the greatest talent in the world, but
Hmm.
also he did set the record for points scored in a game.
Yep.
So that's why I have him up there. So
Hmm. You see, I have him somewhere close to here too.
okay,
But before we get to him, my number 11 is Steph.
okay,
This man has practically every major 3-point shooting record
mm,
except for threes made in a game because, he let his friend get that award. And
uh-huh.
he's bound to catch Ray Allen for total threes all time this season or next season. So He's gonna have that one. So just off greatest shooter alone, that puts him relatively high on this list.
Mm,
Well, not on this list, but on like the all-time list, I mean.
right.
But then you add in two-time MVP, only unanimous MVP ever. 50, 45, 90, 30 point per game season for that MVP. He's a three-time champion, and I believe he was cheated out of at least one finals MVP, but we're not going to talk about that. But that's just some slight context for it. Three-time champion.
Hmm.
And just all around one of the most impactful offensive players ever. Honestly, you could make an argument for him being the most impactful offensive player because on that side of the ball, he can do any and everything. Oh, you need him to be your playmaker. He can easily pass the ball. He's a very good passer. You need him to be the on ball scoring threat like he was this season. He can do that. You need him to be an off ball scoring threat. He can do that. So when it comes to offense, no one is as versatile and unstoppable as Steph is on that end.
Hmm. I completely agree with you. I actually have him a little bit higher, but
Hmm.
um, for my next one, I have Bill Russell. We already talked about him.
Hmm.
Like I said in the past two podcasts, I believe I do kind of value those 11 championships a little bit more than you do.
Hmm.
But yeah, I won't say too much about him just because we've already talked about him a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, and we don't have to talk too much about who I have for my number 10
Hmm.
because it's Wilt, who
Okay.
I've already talked about. The only things I want to mention are I have him a little bit higher because can't ignore all of the crazy individual numbers that he put up besides that 100 point game. He averaged 50 and 25 boards in a season.
Yeah.
That alone is already like, yo, what the man. Then you have just even other crazy stuff that he's done where he was out there getting quintuple doubles before blocks were even recorded.
Hmm.
Yeah, just all sorts of nutty stuff that doesn't even sound real. And Wilt was doing it apparently.
Yeah, I definitely could see why you have him up there. I think I value the what do you call it, the championships a little more. You know, I feel like yeah, you could be putting up all those stats or whatever, but the main goal obviously each year is championships. So just objective stuff.
No, I mean, I get what you mean.
Yeah. Um. All right. So this is number 9 now, I believe. We're at number
Wait, no,
9,
no,
right?
it's your number 10.
Okay. So my number 10 then will be. Wait, are you sure? Because I said
Yeah,
Kawhi,
because
Larry Bird.
I just did Wilt, and that's my 10.
Okay. Um. So then my number 10 is gonna be KD.
Hmm.
Um. Obviously, other than Curry and some other guys out there, one of the most versatile scorers.
Hmm.
I guess you could say. I just don't have him any higher because of super teams, but at the same time, he's still KD
Yeah,
and can still score with the best of them. And I mean, we've already talked to him about a lot, so I won't say much more.
yeah. And so I'll move on to my number 9, which is where I have Hakeem the Dream.
Okay.
Rockets legend, greatest Rocket of all time, however you want to call him.
Yeah.
One of the few people to ever get a quadruple double in a game. That's pretty impressive considering the time that he played in. Then
Mhm.
back to back championships, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, all in the same season. He led a sixth seed to a championship. Just a lot of legendary stuff, and then a little bit of bias because he's a Rocket.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm glad that we can both agree best rocket of all time.
Yeah, there's no debate there, guys. Please don't
Mm-mm.
mention James Harden in the same
No,
sentence.
he's a great second, but it is obviously Elijah one is the first. All right, so for my number nine, I have Steph Curry.
Okay.
Like you said, possibly the best scorer of all time. I do value his championships a little more than KD's though, just
Hmm.
because didn't join a super team. He's with a team that drafted
Yeah,
him.
it was his team, and then plus,
Yeah,
he won the 2015 one
right, right,
without the
right,
super team. So yeah,
right. Exactly. Um, all right, so you want to give your number eight?
my number 8, I have Big Diesel, the big Aristotle, whatever you want to call him, Shaq. And
Okay.
Shaq, one of the most dominant players, if not the most dominant player of all time. He's usually regarded as the most dominant, so I'll give him that title here.
Yeah.
Superman, just because of how ridiculous he was. Shaq, he's kind of like a more modern Wilt in the
Hmm.
sense that he just did stuff out there, and you can't even like believe it if you don't see it. No, nobody else is dunking the ball with three other grown men hugging them. It's not happening. And then he was like 300 plus pounds and was still sprinting down the court when he wanted to. Like, it doesn't make sense. But
Yeah.
outside of just his freakish individual impressive feats, we still have, his team accomplishments. He's 4-time champion. Obviously, the one with D Wade that I mentioned earlier, and the three-peat with Kobe,
Hmm.
where he won all three finals MVPs. So there's that. Then, just obviously MVPs, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
can't really can't really leave him any lower than this.
No, I have him a little bit higher, but uh, yeah. I mean, all the things you're saying is right. Very dominant. Very. Even though 300 pounds and everything, still pretty freak athlete.
Mm-hmm.
But for my number, what is this number
No,
seven?
this is 8. This is 8.
This is eight. Okay,
Mhm.
for my number eight, I have Tim Duncan.
Okay.
Uh, I I consider him probably the best power forward ever.
Oh yeah, no debate.
Okay,
5 championships, 3 MVPs. Yeah, I
yeah.
nobody is catching that for a while.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure, that we could both agree on that. But like you said, the five championships,
Hmm.
uh, did it in a small market team where there wasn't like these huge signings to bring all these guys in
Hmm.
to help him out. But one of the best low post scorers of all time.
Yep.
That's why I have him there.
Yeah, I have him quite a bit higher.
Okay.
But moving on to number 7, this is where I have somebody that we already talked about, but Larry Bird.
Hmm.
And I couldn't see myself putting him any lower because he's 3-time champ, 3-time MVP, along with all of his impressive scoring feats and 3-point shooting feats.
Hmm.
So yeah, and then he was Finals MVP for 2 of those 3 championships. So that as well kind of shows just how important he was.
Right.
So yeah, I can't put him any lower because of that.
Um. All right. So for my number seven, right?
Hmm.
I'm sorry. I keep forgetting what number we're on. I didn't number it, but I have Elijah one.
Okay.
Uh, we talked about him already. Greatest rocket of all time, no debate. 2 championships. I get that it was in the time span that Michael Jordan was quote unquote retired. Um, but at the same time, to do it back to back and then to go into the season, I believe it was the second year when
Hmm.
they weren't as great as the first year.
Yeah, that was the year they were the sixth
We
seed.
yeah, and it's you know to be the highest ranked, not highest ranked, but lowest ranked seed to ever win the championship.
Hmm.
You got to put some respect on his name. So, uh,
Yeah.
all right, you want to
So
go ahead and.
yeah, my number six
Mhm,
is where I have the late legend Kobe Bryant.
mhm.
There's not too much you have to say about Kobe. Everybody knows Kobe. It's
Yeah,
one of the most legendary and iconic basketball players to ever touch the court. Even before we talk about his accomplishments, just it's hard to think of basketball and not think of Kobe Bryant.
right.
Yeah, like he was just that much of a legend in the game. And then when you get to his actual on court feats, just ridiculous scoring. Doesn't even sound realistic, where he would have weeks of averaging 50 points per game or dropping back to back 50s or 60s or just whatever. 81, the second record, well, the second place behind the record for
Mhm,
most points in a game. Then five championships. He has the three that he won with Shaq. People were discrediting those. So he just said, I'm gonna get them myself then, and got two more finals MVP for both.
yeah,
Even though he only has one MVP, there's a lot of context that you have to put on that. There's things that happened outside of basketball. And then also, a lot of times his team wasn't the greatest. So that kind of hurt him and his chances of ever winning more than one as well. But
right.
regardless, he's still Kobe Bryant.
For my number six, I have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Mm.
I know it might be a little low,
Mm-hmm.
but I just feel like some of the players above him do deserve it. 19-time All-Star, which is every single year of his
Yeah.
career. Um, I believe 5-time champion or 6-time champion.
Six.
Okay, so six. Uh, very, very dominant, very consistent of all his greatness throughout all his years. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
obviously I did not get to watch him,
Yes.
but from what I've seen, you know, are you gonna go ahead and move on to your next one?
Okay. My number five. This is where I have Tim Duncan.
Okay.
And we already talked about him. He matches Kobe in the championships, but I put him above just because, more MVPs, which again, I said there's some context to put on that for Kobe. But also, if you look at how Tim Duncan won his championships,
Hmm.
he didn't have the benefit of having a Shaq with him.
Right.
And then also, there were a lot of times where he just completely dominated. There was one finals game where he really got a quadruple double, but the statistician didn't record the blocks properly.
Hmm.
And so they missed two of his blocks and they gave one of them to David Robinson. But besides the point, he pretty much earned a quadruple double in a finals game. And then just on top of that, having done that in a small market, like you mentioned, without the benefit of having free agents willing to just come there whenever.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's why I put him so high.
For my number five, I have Shaq.
Hmm.
So, like we talked about, extremely dominant, uh, known as probably one of the most dominant player in NBA history.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like I have him so high just because of like we've talked about the dominance aspect. I know you have him a little lower, but
Hmm.
that word dominance. I mean, when you can dominate the game the way that he was known for, just bullying guys, breaking backboards, and like you said, dunking while people are literally hanging off of him. I mean, you got to put respect on his name.
Yeah, he was out there making grown men look like children.
Yeah.
And not just any grown men. We're talking about elite of the elite grown men who are many inches taller than either of us.
Hmm.
So yeah, that says a lot about who he was.
And then had probably the most disrespectful dunk in history on I can't think of his name.
But you're talking about the one where he pushed him down.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of who it is right now, but
Yeah, I
yeah, it
can't
has
either.
to be the most disrespectful
Yeah,
dunk.
he dunked on him. He swung on him and then pushed him down after and just ran away.
Shaq has to be up there for not only his basketball play, but
Oh, but
his
yeah, he's
his
definitely
funny
got
moments,
the funny moments.
the memes and everything too.
Oh man, but
But
yeah. Oh, moving to number four. Number four. This is where I have Magic,
mhm,
and this is one that I'm sort of on the fence about. I could have him down as low as 6 or 7, or as high as I have him here at 4.
mhm,
But 5 championships. Now, granted, he won all 5 of them with Kareem as a teammate, and that kind of sort of takes away some of the value of him to me.
yeah,
Even though it was an old Kareem, it's still Kareem. We see what an old LeBron looks like. We saw what an old Kobe looked like. So a player just being older does not mean that they weren't still very good.
right,
But yeah, but outside of that fact, the fact that he won a championship and finals MVP as a rookie, that says a lot
mhm,
just about how great he was. And then to sort of be an innovator of the whole tall point guard movement, where he was 6'9", running the point, passing the ball, leading the fast breaks, all of this. He's very, how can I put this? He was very innovative for his time,
right,
and a lot of people are starting to forget that now a little bit. But at the same time, they're still rating him highly without having any real reason why.
mhm,
So yeah, I just feel like there needs to be more emphasis on these specific factors besides just, oh, well, you have 5 championships, so best point guard, yeah.
right.
It's like, yeah, it's more to it than just that.
Yeah, for my number 4, I have Kobe.
Hmm.
Arguably the best mid-range finisher of all time. Arguably also one of the most clutchest players of all time.
Hmm.
Um, I think that his dominance also was up there with Shaq's.
Hmm.
Obviously, Shaq was more of a physical
Yeah,
dominance than I mean, Shaq obviously was skilled, but
yeah, but it's not
Kobe.
the same. It's not.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So that's why I have Kobe up there. Uh, yeah, I just wish that he wouldn't have gotten hurt so much in the later parts of his career,
Hmm.
and actually would have had a real NBA team, not a G League team around him the rest of his career.
Right.
Um,
I feel like without those injuries, and without the injuries, he therefore would have gotten the right talent too.
mhm.
So, but if those two things sort of line up there, then he easily could have had 6, 7 championships.
Yeah, I think so also. Just unfortunate for his career.
Yeah.
Um,
But
or your number 3.
now we move to my number 3, and this is where I have Kareem,
Okay.
and 6-time champ, 6-time MVP. There's really not much to say outside of that, all-time leading scorer too. But still, 6-time champ, 6-time MVP. So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. For my number three, I have Magic. I'm glad that you brought up the point of him being a tall point guard. Uh, I believe 6'9", right?
hmm
Um, I so for when I think of that, like you said, it was before the time of tall point guards being a thing.
hmm
I think of how like Bill Russell, right? He
Uh-huh.
was supposedly doing stuff that was done before his time, but like now, you know, it's not really something that we do it because of Bill Russell, but
hmm
when you look at Magic Johnson's being a taller point guard, that's
Yeah.
kind of what's really wanted in the league now for point
Yeah.
guards. You really don't want small, 6 foot point guards, 6'1" point guards anymore. You're trying to get at least probably like 6'3" and above.
hmm
So I think that's one thing that he really had influence on. I mean, obviously, he
Yeah.
can't really influence his height, but the fact
Yeah.
that the way he was
But
able to play the way,
yeah, the
with his height.
skills that he developed with that height.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Obviously, great 3-point scorer, everything else too.
hmm
Uh, yeah, but that's why I have number three.
Okay, so now we get into the most controversial part of a lot of people's rankings, but
Hmm.
I feel like it's a fairly easy and obvious one. Number two, LeBron. Number one, Jordan.
All right. I had a feeling we were gonna agree on these two just because of our LeBron
Yeah.
opinion. But all right, go ahead and give your. You want to go ahead and give both of your reasons why for
Yeah,
both
yeah.
players?
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and get it out of the way.
Okay.
As for why LeBron is this high, I mean, 4-time champion, 4-time MVP,
Hmm.
4-time finals MVP at that with his 4 championships. He's gonna be fairly highly ranked in all of the all-time stats. He's never been a scorer per se, but he's consistently averaged 20 plus points. And just he was so dominant that it was legitimately annoying to watch at times. So that just says a lot about who he was. And then moving on to Jordan. Jordan was the same thing in terms of the dominance, like I just said, but in the 90s, and it was much crazier because he won 6 championships with 5 MVPs, and he won all 6 of his finals MVPs.
Hmm.
And at that, because of that insane dominance, he is the sole reason why many great 90s legends don't have rings.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really him and Hakeem. They were the 90s. And there's so many people like the one we're not going to mention, John Stockton, Charles Barkley, just a lot of guys who played during that era who, if he didn't exist, would be champions right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit it right on the head. LeBron, yes, I get it. He's carried almost every possible team you could think of in his whole career, but at the same time, MJ going 6 for 6 and arguably the most influential person in the basketball world. At
hmm
least in one my opinion, I think he's probably like either one or two. I mean, LeBron probably is number two. Kobe's up there.
hmm
Obviously, Curry's up there too.
hmm
Um, but I just think that 6 for 6, less attempts, but obviously more championships than LeBron
Yeah,
has to be, you know. And it's not like he was playing against bums either.
yeah. I really hate that whole plumbers thing. Like, okay,
Yeah, no, those guys definitely were not plumbers.
yeah. Go go tell Charles Barkley that he was a plumber. Go
Hmm.
see how well that goes.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any more comments about this list here?
No, I feel like I explained everyone before this pretty well, and there's not much to say about this top two argument besides what's already been said. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's all I have.
All right. Well, that's gonna go ahead and be the end of the podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, go ahead and like and subscribe. Share with your friends. Isaiah, any last comments?
You know, the usual. Comment any more topics, just as you saw today. We
Mhm.
will possibly cover some suggestions. Don't forget to check out the Instagram at All Ball Podcast YT, where you can leave your comments about the episodes there as well. And share and subscribe, and hopefully come back for more.
Mhm. All right. Well, we'll see you all next week. Later.